Hi, I'm Johnny from UltimatePaperMache.com, and I got my tiger mask done. In my last video, I asked you if you wanted me to paint him as an orange tiger or as a white tiger, and guess which one won that vote? I guess it's pretty obvious. It was pretty overwhelming, actually. And I think maybe it's those blue eyes that really grab you. I mean, it was just really cool. Now, I have to admit that I always get just a little bit nervous when I paint one of my sculptures because I go to all the trouble of creating them, and then the painting is the very, very last thing. So is it going to come out right or not? But fortunately, it almost always does, even if I have to put on several layers of anything in order to get it right. And I think that mostly it's because the sculpture itself helps so much. All you have to do is put the stripes in the right place. And because the stripes themselves actually follow the contours of the sculpture, that's not even all that hard. So I'm pretty confident in saying that if I can do it, so can you. I'm really definitely not a professional painter, but they still come out pretty nice. Now I painted him just pretty much the same way that I paint all of my sculptures back here. These are all three-dimensional patterns like this one, except for this guy. I did him just really, really simply, like I do everything else. I add the colors in the right place, hopefully, and that's pretty much all there is to it. There were very few colors on this one, so it went really fast. I used a grainer brush. I'm going to show you what that is right here. I don't know if you can see it. My daughter told me about that. You can see the little points it's got on it. It makes fur marks really fast, a whole bunch of them. So I really love this thing. And I used it a lot on this fellow, especially right here on his nose and the white here coming over the black, so it looks like he's got layered fur. Really easy to do. But I think it's really effective. So let me show you how this was done. I started out the same way I start almost all of my paper mache clay sculptures now. I used a primer. I used a latex primer that happened to be left over from a project here around the house. You can use acrylic gesso. You can also use a spray primer if you want to. I paint the back black. Since I'm not going to be trick-or-treating really, I could have just left just the primer on the back and not put any of the black on there at all. I still like to paint the back though anyway, even though it's going to be up on the wall, nobody's actually going to see the back. It still finishes it really nice, and somebody might want to look at it. You know, you might want to pull it off the wall if somebody's admiring your work. You might want to pull it down and let them see it. And you want to have the back look nice. That's also true if you're giving it away for a present. So I just always go ahead and paint the back. It doesn't take much time. You want to let it dry though, especially if you're using white on the front, because you don't want it to get mixed in with the white parts of your tiger. So let that get dry before you move on to the rest of it. Now the next part of it was to put a base coat of white plus just a teensy bit of yellow oxide. I painted all of the front and I let it dry. If you look at a whole lot of photographs of white tigers, you see that the nose area, between the eyes and all the way down to the nose, is usually darker. Sometimes it's a gray, sometimes it's like a burnt umber sort of color, sometimes it's a yellow. I really like the lighter colors just because I wanted definitely a white tiger. And when you see it, I didn't want the attention to go to that center area of the mask, so I wanted it to blend in really well. I added a little bit more yellow oxide to the base color. Now that blended in just a little bit too much, so I added a little bit of burnt umber to it and did some more brush marks. I'm trying to make it kind of random, and then after that was on there and dry, I went back over it again and softened that up with just the base coat and the grainer brush. I just wanted it to be just to blend in a little bit better. The eyes, I just happened to have some cobalt turquoise and it looked like a perfect color. After the turquoise was dry, I went back over it with a little bit of white that had been mixed up with a soft gel gloss, and it just made the white transparent. I used the same trick on the pupils that I did for the Lion King mask. I just cut circles out of some tissue paper. I put more of the soft gel over the eye, put the tissue paper circles right on there, and then you can move them around a little bit so that they're actually in the right place. I have a really hard time with eyes getting them both the same. I did do a little bit of correction right around the edges as well with some black paint, but it gave me a really good start. And then I went ahead and put the white spots of reflection. Then I painted the nose pink. I just happened to have some Tropic Orange craft paint. I don't know why I have this stuff. I have never used it as far as I know, but I mixed it up with some white, and it turned out to be exactly the right color. It's also the same color that I put around the eyes. Every single tiger has stripes in a different place, and both sides are not symmetrical on a tiger. They don't, you don't have to match entirely, but you do want it to balance, if that makes sense. I used black plus burnt umber. Actually, burnt umber plus black would be a better way of saying it, because I wanted a really, really warm black. So it's very dark, it reads as black, but it's also a real warm color. I painted that on with a fairly large brush, and when it was dry, I went back over it with my grainer brush and the base coat of that warm white that I made with white and yellow oxide, and I just kind of pulled that color over the black so that it would look like it was layers of fur. Then it was time to do that detailing around the eyes. Just a very, very fine line right around the outside of that pink part. Then a fairly heavy black stripe right at the top of the eye on the furry part, the upper eyelid. And then I actually created a shadow with the black over the eye itself, just because that's the way it looked in the photograph I was using, and it looked really cool. I really liked it, and I think it came out pretty nice. So that's the way I did it. Now there is one more thing, actually two more things that I am going to do with this now that it's actually dry. I'm going to put at least one layer of acrylic varnish over this fellow front and back and let that dry. And then I'm going to use some clear fingernail polish over the eyes. That'll just really make them pop, because they'll get all the shine from the light in the room, and it's going to look really nice. But you want to do that after it's totally dry, and I just finished this fellow, so I don't want to do that quite yet. I'm kind of hoping by now you're kind of interested in finding out how you can make a tiger of your own, and you can do that by downloading my pattern. It's on my website now at ultimatepapermache.com/tiger. Now this is one of the patterns like these back here, where you just print it out, put it on cardboard, cut the pieces out, tape them together, and then put either one layer of paper mache or a very thin layer of paper mache clay over it before you paint them. You can print out two of them and make an orange one and a white one if you want to. The pattern is just $12. So go see it, ultimatepapermache.com/tiger. And if you make one, I do hope that you'll come back to my website, to the Daily Sculptors page, and show them off, because I would love to see how it comes out. As a matter of fact, no matter what you make, I want to see how it comes out, and I know a few thousand other people who do too. So go make something, and then come visit me, ultimatepapermache.com. I'll see you there.